Recounts, the No BS News Hour, the Drew and Mike Show.
There are many
podcast
classics. If this isn't one, it comes damn close.
ML Elric.
Go tell the Spartans.
Our little mothers are coming for us.
You asked interrogative questions around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Al?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric back with the Soul of Detroit, and we have a very special show today. We have a guest who has come a long way from a place that has seen some amazing times and is going through some incredibly difficult times that we all had hoped would end a long time ago, that we hope will end as soon as possible. But for now, Vladimir Putin continues to pretend that he is a czar when he's really just a twerp with some nuclear codes, and that's why we got to be careful of that.
He's
guy.
a bully.
He's not, he's not a good hockey player either, but I don't really want to tell him that because it might hurt his feelings, and then he'll bust out some of that sweet karate on me. But we are joined today.
Talking about.
He goes out and skates with Ovechkin, but then he's a martial artist and all this other stuff. I mean, you basically...
He's a man's man. Just ask him.
Yeah, although I don't know that many guys who would run around. Wasn't he riding a Shetland pony when he had that picture taken without his shirt on?
No,
Yes.
he was a Bengal tiger, wasn't it?
I'm not sure, but pretty much a delusional cat who is making everything hard.
Fucking maniac is another word for it.
That would be that would be 3 syllables that probably bring it home pretty good. But we are joined by Valeriya Isakova, who is a former exchange student from the Ukraine to a little town called Tecumseh, who after the war broke out returned with her family. It was a very circuitous journey, so she's going to talk to us about what she saw before she left, what she's been experiencing on her way back to America, and where she'd like to go, and we're going to see if anybody here can help out with that. We're also going to talk about my latest column for the Detroit Free Press that has a lot of my fellow Spartans apparently coming from my head. I heard from a lot of Spartans through my email who liked it, a couple who didn't, including some who accused me of being a Walmart Wolverine, although I must have said in this column about a dozen times that I'm a Spartan. And apparently there's a message board out there that's like the trolls are going crazy, so Marc is going to tell us a little bit about that. But first we want to tell you about our sponsors who make this show possible, starting with Hall Financial, who can save you a bunch of money even though we see the interest rates going through the roof.
Yeah, Hall Financial. Call hallfirst.com, or you can call them at 866-CALL-HALL. They have a lot of different programs right now. One is the Buy Smart program. You can get the home buying help you've been looking for from Hall Financial. And the Buy Smart program helps buyers by offering down payment assistance. How cool is that? Everybody needs assistance, right?
That's a little cash to help you close the deal.
Yeah, you can get credit towards your down payment, receive better interest than a standard loan, reduce mortgage insurance for first-time home buyers. It's always a big surprise for first-time home buyers. Housing inventory, it's starting to finally climb up. It's a good time to be a home buyer. So talk to Hall Financial right now, and specifically about their Buy Smart program. 866-CALL-HALL, or chat with them online at callhallfirst.com.
And if you're wondering about what to do with your money, don't look at the stock market because that's just you're going to pass out. You got to call our friend Luke Nowacki.
Yeah, because when it comes to investing, some people have actually asked him, what happens if everything goes down to zero? Well, if we face a worldwide geoeconomic calamity like we've never seen before and all the equity goes down to zero, then we don't have to worry about money, right? But unfortunately, that's not a reality. The market will come back from lows. It'll start pushing new highs eventually. So you got to be positioned in the right spot for your money to make money, and call Luke Nowacki because he's the guy that's going to do that for you. He's with Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, 248-663-4748 to discuss all your strategies moving forward. Once again, Luke Nowacki, Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Finally, we want to thank the Caju Cafe for being both the Pride on the East Side, a great place to go any evening if you want live music, if you want great food, if you like karaoke, if you like blues. They got it all. Every Monday's an open blues jam and muscle madness. Tuesdays is sweet and funky soul. Wednesdays is karaoke. And to find out what live acts are coming to the Caju and to find out what their schedule is, because you want to check that with the holiday coming up, go to cajucafe.com. We'll have a link to all of our sponsors' websites on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. So check them out. And when you go, let them know that ML sent you. Now, our guest who joined us was sent here by Vladimir Putin, although I don't think he personally told you that you had to get going. But Valeriya lived in a part of the Ukraine that has been under fire, and there really wasn't much choice except to go. But I understand your father's still there because men have to stay and fight. I mean, this is the sort of thing that people in America just don't have much experience with, and we see it from afar, and it all seems surreal to us. But to you, you've lived this. I mean, can you tell us a little bit what your last year has been like?
Oh, I think it has been even more. Like in 2014, we also had to move because of Vladimir Putin, but back then they didn't say he did that. Like we were living originally on the eastern side of Ukraine, which is like Luhansk area, the closest city to Russia. And we had to move and start from scratch again. And no, like support was given even inside the country because it was such a mess. And again, now, yes, my dad and my grandpa, they are staying in Ukraine right now. And men cannot leave. And even right now, before in Ukraine, women were not accepted into army because we were only men go to army. But right now, women can go. And for us, it's a big change also as well. They are still in Ukraine because men cannot leave. Even if you don't fight, you just have to stay there. And there was actually recently, I'm not sure if you have heard, people of Ukraine, they filed asking Zelensky to let men out because there is no place to work, nothing. They can't earn money, but everything costs money anyway.
What is your father doing though? What is his day-to-day like?
Good question. I mean, we check with them every day, and he's trying to work, he's real estate agent. He's trying to find people apartments. It's more about rent. So refugees from more eastern cities, they come to the safer cities, and he's trying to help that way. But daily, it's just they go for a walk with my grandpa sometime. Just it's the same every day. They cook now. It's because you have to stay inside of the apartment, and I'm trying to motivate him to learn something, because everything can be you can get access to everything remote, but it's just people are so dismotivated. They just feel like they're never going to get out of there because same day every day.
Is that because it's just dragging on?
Yeah, it's dragging on. They are living in a more safe, in a safer city. So for them, it's dragging on. They're just closed up there. More people from different cities come, and more cities get destroyed. People are unhappy. They don't get enough money. There's enough food, but it's not enough in 2022. Just food. So
2014. You were telling us before you were in the Donbass region. I think a lot of people know that have been following. And you moved to Kyiv?
We moved to Dnipro. It's another eastern city.
I wasn't even going to try to pronounce that word.
Yeah. So, and then I went for my exchange year. Then I went to college in Kyiv.
So you were back in Kyiv, and when did you have to leave? Because there was a big buildup. Back in November, December, there was this buildup, and there were a lot of people saying he's not going to invade. What were your feelings when that? She just rolled her eyes. So obviously you thought he was going to. How did you prepare, and what did you do?
We didn't prepare. Most of my friends, my company friends, my workplace friends, my family, we were it's not gonna happen. You said in November, December. I had my birthday in December, New Year in December. We didn't think about that. Like, no. People were talking, like we could talk, but nobody was actually preparing. Like,
so how fast did that accelerate? And did you
It's
just,
like
I mean, what could you grab
like
to take with you, if anything?
I remember on the 23rd of February, like a journalist from CBS News, actually, she was in Ukraine. We could see like a huge concentration of reporters coming on that day. And she came up to me and she goes like, do you have a plan? Like, do you have an emergency suitcase? People started packing emergency suitcases, but it started all rising like 3 weeks before. Like, some people would leave with their man and go somewhere to Europe, just like to wait it out in case something happens, so their man could leave. So some people would just go to Europe for a few months just to like watch what's gonna happen. And some people would expect, actually, we expected it to happen on the weekend before. So a lot of people left Ukraine, flew out to Europe, waited, came back.
When did you leave?
We left on 28th, 29th of February after it started because we didn't believe it's going to happen. Yeah. We woke up and we didn't have an emergency suitcase packed. But the day before, like you could feel the tension. It's like, something bad is going to happen, but you don't know what exactly. And everyone like around you is talking about it. And I had a friend and he goes, yeah, I'm going to France like in a week because I think it's going to happen. And, well, apparently he's still in Ukraine because we woke up and next morning it all happened.
So how did you find out? I mean, did you hear things? Did you see things? Did you get a phone call? Was it in the news?
For me it was I couldn't sleep a long time, and then I woke up at 8. Like some people were expecting, like some people because did you know Putin actually announced it on his site on his news? Like he came up during the night. He came out and spoke to his like country that they're going to free Ukraine from like whoever is like
from the Nazis.
Yeah,
right?
from the Nazis. Yeah, they're going to like we're going there to help. And it was at 3 a.m. in the morning. Like, who's like waiting for that?
To that point, we've heard there's a lot of like Russian, I don't know, sympathizers or at least ethnicity in that eastern region, and they believe some of that. Do you know people like that? I mean, is that a lie we're being fed, or is that?
No, it's truth. I have family in Russia, they believe. Like families. Like my mom's brother, my uncle. We have been always so close. He's also from Luhansk. We live together. Now he lives in Russia. And we have some of our friends like who are now moved out to Russia. And they believe. Like they think. And also some people are just like too hurt. Like they stayed back then in eastern Ukraine. And now they say like, back then, Ukraine didn't actually help us, so right now they're paying for it.
Didn't help with what?
Didn't help, like, didn't protect them, that Russia took them over anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so people are just, like, hurt, and they want those people who were safe to experience the same thing. That's also another part of the reason.
Wow. And how many families have relatives in Ukraine and in Russia? Is that a common thing?
Oh yeah, it's very common. Even some people who are not in Russia are still in Eastern Europe, or they still like believe Eastern Ukraine, or they believe Russia. That's a lot. Like we have just recently, I think also for Americans would be nice to see there are a lot of Ukrainian projects developed. Like there is one project, it's called Papa, and it's about like how one guy told his dad who is in Russia that it's real, like it's going on, like he talked on him on the phone. And I know the person, he's like a successful restaurant owner in Ukraine, and his dad didn't believe him. He was like, well, no, we are saving you. Like he was serious, and no matter what you say to people, they just don't hear you. It's crazy. They just don't.
Not just in the Ukraine. Or
yeah.
in Ukraine.
No, it's not.
No.
Yeah.
It's the state-sponsored media in Russia, right?
Yeah, but even if you send them like a video and say that's real, like even if I'm here, they're like, it's for the best.
So when you say we escaped, it's you, your mother, you have a brother?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have me, my mom, and my brother. He's 11 now. Yes.
So
I think he just subscribed to our YouTube channel. So Artur, thank you very much. Artur can tell you how easy it is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go to ML Elliott and hit subscribe, and
Nice ego. So there's no plan.
Shout out to Arthur.
What do you do then? There's no plan. Where do you go? I mean, what kind of direction or help did you have?
When we just left Ukraine, like my mom, she was not sure if she should leave, like if we should leave, because everyone's like, when the war's starting, everyone's expecting it to be over in a week, in a month or something like that. They're like, oh, it's gonna be over, because nobody wants to leave. Like everyone believes it's gonna be over, and nobody can really settle their mind that in 2022 we can still have a war. Like we woke up, and I wasn't like sad or scared. I was so mad that it's happening again. The minute it started, I knew it's not gonna end like soon. It's just people at some point, they don't want to end. They're just like, oh, my son died, so I'm staying, and your son is not leaving because my son died.
So why did people think it was going to end quickly? I mean, did they think that the Russians would come and take something and leave, or that the Ukrainian leadership would say, okay, you can have this and we won't fight? I mean, why did people think this was going to be fast?
Because they sought to find an agreement, like
Crimea.
To say.
I mean, you guys went through Crimea. That was
just
quick.
to find something. Like I think they were hoping for like an agreement, just to say like, and they were hoping for Russia to back out. Like they didn't even hope for like territories to get back. Like when it all started, they just were like, okay, they will say it's a mistake. Like we're back. Like we're out.
Wow.
So it was that easy. People just didn't want the wars. They were like, oh, they will just realize.
That doesn't seem realistic.
Well, when there is a plane going over your head and bombing, you believe in something you really want to be true. So.
Yeah.
Oh no, I agree, and I wonder if it was more hopeful, or if it was just that, you know, like you say, we haven't had a war in most of our lifetimes where armies invade other countries and stay. I mean, we do in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, but
Iraq,
I mean in Europe, in the Western world, this is pretty weird, you know.
I don't think it was just about hope. People seriously believed it because it was just ridiculous to have a war. Russia has been always there, like for us. It's not like they just popped out with their huge country. They have always been there, and for us, I mean, people never like seen Russia as like enemy, you know, like we never been aggressive. Like they have always been there. Like they haven't treated us right. Was taking the territories. Everyone was like super mad about that, but nobody was actually like aggressive, like inside the country or something like this. So, but when it all happened, we were like, oh, that's madness.
So when you had to leave, what was it like? Did somebody say, you've got an hour? Did you go to the train? Did you go to the airport? Did you drive to the border?
Oh, that was bad. Like, when war happens, nobody knows what to do. Nobody was actually expecting it. So when we woke up, we knew we had to leave, but we don't have a car. Like, in our family, we don't drive, and that's something that got us screwed. But a lot of people were stuck in traffic, so the only thing we knew, we had to look for train tickets. And for bus tickets, they were all sold out. Sold out for weeks. Like, I called the morning, they were sold out. And you couldn't actually call because the line was too busy. But then we figured we had one ticket from my friend in his name. And we said maybe all three of us could sit in the train, you know, like on one seat and stuff. And we had to wait. Like, we spent one night in the bomb shelter, and then another night we were like, okay, we can't anymore. We have to like leave. Like, it's because you sleep dressed, and it seems like, I don't know. The only thing, I was just so angry. Like, ugh, and yeah, you're scared, obviously. So we just we didn't have a ticket. We just went to the train station just to see what it's like. We got a backpack, and we had one small suitcase, and each of us got a backpack. And we went to see to the train station what's like. Maybe we could get a ticket or something like this. And it's actually really risky. People still don't know if they can go to the train if it arrives during this hour when you cannot go out on the street, you know, like there's like curfew. Yeah, people still don't know if they can still go to the train or no. Like, so we arrived and we saw they were evacuating trains. Like, evacuating trains, but it's scary. Like the whole platform is full of people. Like you come out and it's already full. Everyone is leaving. Men were trying to get on the train because they wanted to go with their families, at least to the western like Ukraine, to be safe. And so we took the train, it was packed. People were sitting on the floor, and winter in Ukraine is like super cold. Like, I don't know, like very cold, like colder than in Michigan. And people were sitting on the floor, not enough seats, but it's okay. Like people are getting evacuated. But the worst is when the train arrived and people rushed to the train. So some fell in between. It's just like terrible that nobody knows what to do and everyone is scared. They lose their mind. Like,
yeah.
Animal instinct. And I always saw it in the movies. Like in Ukraine, we'd watch a lot of movies about war with my grandpa, and we would see that in movies like evacuating train, most people, like acting like animals, but that's real. Like people just want to get saved. They don't know what's gonna like happen, and when you're in the train station, you always feel like it's gonna get bombed. Like somehow, like. That place feels like a lot of people. So you think it's gonna be the target. So.
How old is your grandfather?
He's 71.
71. Has he told you stories of when pre-Ukraine independence and what it was like?
Oh yeah, I mean a lot. And my mom also about the pre-Ukraine independence. She remembers that time, and my grandpa obviously. Yeah, he worked as a truck driver all his life, so he drove a lot through Ukraine, and he saw different people, different stories. Yeah, I mean, he told me it was beautiful, but Ukraine is still beautiful. It's just like really agricultural, and people are super open, like kind. Well, like one thing we were talking about with my mom, that here in US people don't have fences, but they're not really like this, you know. Like I haven't seen this like being really. Open-minded, I guess. And in Ukraine, people do have fences. People live like in, but we're more, I don't know, understand. I don't know.
You can say it.
Networking, respectful, understanding. I don't know. Just like if somebody has different opinion and stuff, we will like more be okay. I have this opinion, and maybe we will talk about it, but we will not be like, oh, you're wrong. Get out, like something like this.
What? Countries do that? What are you talking about? Yeah. So you're evacuated, and at some point you got to think we're gonna be gone for a while. I want to get to this place. How did you arrive in Tecumseh?
So I was an exchange student in 2015, 2016, and I always kept in touch with my host family. So as soon as it all started, the first person I talked to on the phone, because I didn't want to scare anyone inside of my family, I talked to my host mom, Carrie Metzen, and I was on the street walking to withdraw money, and she goes like, I asked her, do you think we can still fly out like on 24th of February? Like we so didn't believe that. Yeah. Like she goes like, there's still flights, but I don't think they're going to fly out. Like, so that's how. And she was like, "Okay, you guys should like go to Europe and like see. Maybe it's gonna end in a month, but you should like get out for some time and then like come back. You can always come back." That's what she told me. Like she was there to support me in that kind of mental health way. She said, "You can always come back. Like it ends, you can go back."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So how did you get out? I mean, you said the train station was packed. People are probably just hanging off it, trying to get. Did you end up getting a train out?
Yeah, we got into the train. We like backed off and then I saw there was one, like the first like train was fine. Like you could get in there because there was a policeman who was stopping people. He was like literally, the man was pushing away people so kids could come through. So, and we came through after the kids and just sat there. And that's how we made it to Western Ukraine. That's the only way, was to go to Poland from Western Ukraine. And from Western Ukraine, we spent like a few hours there, and we didn't know where to go. So I have a friend, he got us into a car, drove us to the border, but then the driver dropped us, and he was like, he didn't want to, because it was a huge line that was not moving, like a line full of cars. It was not moving. Kids were crying, and he's like, I didn't sign up for it. My family is still back there, so get out. And it was like 8 kids and adults, like moms, not even men. And it was cold, and he was like, get out. It's 30 kilometers before the border. Like, we would have to walk. And then the policeman told us there is a train.
Cold.
It's cold, and it's getting darker, and it's just terrible. Like, we were devastated. And I could walk, but they were like, kids, how will they walk? Like, and moms, like, they're all different age. Yeah, so obviously walking was not an option, because by the time we would get there, it would get dark, and we would still like have to sleep on the street, like in the woods, because it was basically just a road in the forest. Like, So we got on the train, a different one that was supposed to bring us closer to the border, and we got on it as millions of other people, and we also didn't know where to get out. And the train, like the train driver, or how, like, he also didn't know. He didn't open the door to talk to us because he was so afraid, because like moms get angry and stuff. Like,
Sure.
So everyone is
desperate.
They're desperate, yeah. So they were knocking at that door, and he didn't open. And he didn't give us a straight answer where to get out, because they were trying, like, there was an evacuating train, which we found just by some kind of, I don't know, luck. Like, because we had to get out of that train. We got out on a random train station, like really small, in the middle of the field, no people, like, I mean, there were people like us, but no one to tell us what to do. And then they were like, oh, there is another train, but it was already full, also evacuating train. And then we just, during the middle of the night, somebody said, oh, there is another train coming. So we just practically ran everywhere. You're like a puppy who's blind. You just go everywhere where they tell you to go. And since they're trying to keep it really like safe and private, like that nobody knows that the train is coming, you can't really use your phone. You can't really see it, so you have to go. We had to go through the railway tracks, like, and that's a minute when I regretted that we took the suitcase, actually, because you kind of have. I saw people leaving the suitcases because it's really like hard. Was like you have a baby and you have like you just leave your stuff because
people have pets. Were they leaving pets left and right because there's no room?
No,
okay.
Ukrainians took the pets. I mean, most of the stories I saw, people would take, and I haven't seen anyone drop their pet. They would rather like drop their suitcase or whatever, just take the documents, but the pet is coming.
All right.
So when did you get to Michigan, and was that how? I mean, you had to get a visa, or are you refugee status? I mean, I don't know how any of that works. Was that another additional nightmare? And when did you finally?
Oh yeah, that was really So we got to Poland on that evacuating train, which was actually also closed for a few hours, just in the middle of the field. And we got into Poland. Poland was super welcoming. Like, still, a lot of Ukrainians are so thankful for Poland opening up the borders and really welcoming the people. So we got to Poland, but then we saw Poland is like overcrowded with Ukrainians. Like, there is nowhere we could stay.
1 million people.
Yeah, millions. Like, so we went to Germany because my friend was able to help us with an apartment to live for free just for some time. Because US didn't open the borders. Like, they didn't say, okay, you guys come in. Like, who can afford the ticket can fly in, you know? So we didn't know what to do, and we didn't want to just show up at the border because you can go to detention center and it can influence you badly. We didn't know what to do. So we actually just went to Germany, lived there for months, and there was no news about US opening the borders. We saw just humanitarian parole, which we actually got the papers ready for, but never sent in because it takes you like 3 months of being reviewed, and if you get stuck, like, you might get stuck in the system. So, you know, we didn't want to get stuck in the system because you don't know who to reach out to. So we got the tourist visa interview in May. We were back there in February. It was like in May. And there was nothing to put, like, I called several agencies. There was nothing like to ask, what should I put if I'm from Ukraine? Like, they wouldn't give you like a hint, like, say this and we will accept you like faster. So right now we came on this program, which is Unite for Ukraine, which was like launched, I don't know, it was launched in May, beginning of May, 12th of May, I believe, and that's when we saw it, and we were able to apply only on 20th something, no, maybe earlier around that time, but in May. So practically people would have to stay all around. And that's how we applied, and we got really accepted like really quick. But through all of this, like I wouldn't figure out like. I mean, I would, but also Carrie helped us, and it took two of us to just always be looking. Like if you want to come to US, if you have a family, there are millions of Ukrainians who have someone, friends, family, who would want to like come here and just live because they have a safe house, but they couldn't. So the program was launched, we came, and it's basically humanitarian parole, but faster procedure for Ukrainians. Yeah, but there were no clear rules till recently, so they just, I haven't even read through them yet. They just sent us. So today.
How do you support yourself? How do you eat? If somebody said, hey, you got to get out of Detroit tomorrow, and I packed a bag for 2 months, I don't carry enough money with me to feed my family for 2 months. I mean, I don't know if a credit card works, if you can use your bank card. I mean, there's some very just simple practical matters that I think people don't think about when you have to leave home.
Yeah, I mean, our family didn't have any savings. It's actually common in Ukraine for some people who we just kind of, because people don't earn that much, so they live from one pay to another pay, so nobody saved. For us right now, we got really helped by Tecumseh community. Like they fundraised like more than enough money for us to survive for all the time in Europe, 3 months, and now also. So they did like, I don't know, just we are super thankful for them and grateful. They just pulled through. Can you imagine just like a small city in US, and they helped, like they saved my family, like because we still like share money with my grandpa and my dad because they don't have a place to work. So but I would say like, you mean how to prepare, like if you have to leave, how to...
Well, no, I mean, it sounds like the way that you're able to survive is through human kindness. People
human kindness, through
giving you a place to stay, making sure that you're eating. I mean, you look terrific, so I'm assuming that someone's helped you get clothes and things like that, because I know from my traveling, if I'm on the road for 2 months with only a few pairs of underwear, I'm not going to be welcomed in polite society. I mean, your socks, things fall apart when you're wearing the same clothes every day for 2 months. I mean,
I have seen that in Germany, like for months. Yeah. We just, just people. Like, that's what I realized. Like, people, connection, human touch, like always staying like a good, kind person, just being someone who will help someone in the same kind of situation, because I would help. If someone would be in the same situation, I would help, and maybe that's why people felt like they could help me, and I will be helping further on. Like, I'm right now interested in NGOs, I would love to go back, like, to Ukraine, and if I could, like, if I've had, like, was working for a company that could actually help people there, I would be the first to go and help. So for us, it's just, human kindness, just people. People helped us. That's how we survive,
And you have a college degree. You've traveled before because Tecumseh because you were here as an exchange student. You're obviously somebody who's very intelligent, well-spoken, well-presented, a great employee. How, what is your hope that you'll be able to find some work to help support your family, or maybe even to get back and provide some more help to people who are still in Ukraine?
Well, there's no other choice. It's how it always is for me, right? Like always back when we were leaving or right now, you have to find a job. You have to get better, get stronger. You have to be out there. You have to work for it. And there's for me, there is no other option. So when you say how I know, I just make it happen. Like, really want it to happen and actually do something to make it happen. Like, apply for jobs, like work on my skills. I don't know, just like talk to people, like ask if somebody knows something. And if you want to make it happen, you just work for it. That's how it works. Yeah.
Such a simple answer. It's hard, but it's simple. I'm fascinated by the cultural differences, okay? Because you've been here, or you were here before, and now you're here. I'm sure you get a lot of dumb questions about Ukraine. And do you guys? Because I jokingly said before.
Have you ever met Hunter Biden before?
I've heard about that, but I jokingly said, "Did you guys have paper in Ukraine? Like just some stupid? Have you had really dumb questions about? Because for a lot of Americans, we're just even learning about Ukraine. If you don't follow world politics, now there's a lot of people that know what is going on.
I mean, I have had when I was an exchange student because nobody kind of heard of Ukraine back then. Like, people were not aware. So back then, people would ask if we are still part of USSR, or they would be like, "Oh, are you guys with Russia? Like, we're like like Russia, part of Russia." Yeah, questions like that were back then, and like, but right now, since people know so much, and I feel like people really read through before they actually talk to us, and that's what I appreciate. People make some kind of effort, just like to know and not to sound dumb, even if it's not dumb. It's just that some people might not know. I mean, of course, I had a question which. It's funny. It's just funny. Like, some people just say that if chicken eggs are the same in Ukraine as they are like in
eggs.
US.
Are they?
Yep. So that's some questions like
They're
that.
probably fresher. So.
Yeah. Or I had a
Chicken
question.
doesn't know where he is.
Well, in Tecumseh, you can get some
True.
eggs from
Very,
the farm.
very, yeah, that's
so.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just different. Yeah, but right now people do make a lot of effort to know more about Ukraine, and that's what I'm actually also concerned about. I want people to also know about Ukraine, how great and beautiful the country was, not right now in ruins. They I'm always open to share Ukrainian culture, and I think the best way to share Ukrainian culture is like through sharing a meal. Because our culture is like, really like
always food. Any culture. I mean, we've talked about that.
We do. What food do you like here, and what food do you not?
What I like here.
Hot dogs, apple pie.
Ooh, hot dogs are my favorite.
See, there you go.
Hot dogs.
But sausages are everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So.
But I can't say what's there. Like, what could I don't know what's traditional for you. Like, what's
Sean,
you're referring to something traditional, right?
No,
like something
traditional American
hamburger.
Classic American potato chips.
Fried chicken.
There you go.
I'm vegetarian.
Oh, okay. Collard greens.
There you go. Yeah, collard greens. Although
you can have pork.
A lot of animal fat.
Yeah, right. You can.
But back then, when I was here, I loved like hot dogs. I just liked the culture, like how Americans have it. That you guys go to a game, like baseball game, and it's all like what. Together with family, and you're really into it, the name of that player and that player. And for us, it's not that about sports. Like, it was not. Like, we weren't that much into watching sports at all. Like,
is there a national sport in Ukraine?
I mean, of course, it's soccer. Like in the whole Europe. But it's soccer, yep. But now basketball got also to be a big thing. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. What else? So, yeah, that's hot dog, I would say. I don't know.
Hot dog.
Oh, I also like chocolate chip cookies. Because that's I would also call that American.
It kind of is.
Yeah, it was made here, invented here. Yeah. Toll House, right?
Yeah.
So what about because you look American, right? I mean, I could see people just going, "Oh, another American," and then you talk and you have an accent. Do people assume you're from Ukraine, Russia, and what is their reaction when you just start talking?
I mean,
like if you just meet somebody at a grocery store or something.
They will assume that we speak Russian.
Mm-hmm.
They can hear the thick accent we have, so they assume we speak Russian, but they don't exactly say that we are from Ukraine. Because people, I think right now they're also afraid to say, "Are you guys from Ukraine?" Like, but in Tecumseh, everyone practically knows
who you are.
You're
like a celebrity.
Yeah.
You're a little celebrity.
But they say that they're sorry about what's going on, and practically that they're sorry, and nobody's trying to avoid personal questions like if we are fine. They just say that they're sorry, and if we need anything, they're there for us. I think it's a good answer, like a good question, conversation starter, I guess.
Now, if you could go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you worry that there's going to be Ukraine fatigue because this war is going on certainly longer than you thought it would? I don't know how long Americans thought it would go on. We talked about it on this show right after it happened, and our feeling was it's not going to be fast because unless Putin gets everything he wants, he's not going to go home. No. And we think about what happened in Chechnya and how he would destroy a place rather than admit defeat. But since the war happened, we've had all these shootings here, and now we have this big ruling on abortion, and now we have elections. And I think because Americans are so tied into the world, we get wrapped up in a big event, and then another big event happens, and people get distracted, and they kind of say, oh, yeah, Ukraine, that's where they've been having that war over there for a while. Do you worry that people here will start to just accept that that's going to go on for a long time and not be as concerned as they have been?
I do think it's gonna.
Because I'm worried about that.
Yeah, I'm super worried.
And
about
I'm from
that.
the east side, so
I mean, of course I'm worried about that. That was my worry, like the first week. I saw, like, it just gets like, it gets like to be as a background. Like, no matter how much I would want to be different. That's why I think. Have you heard of the recent shootings, like of the recent bombings that were in Ukraine, like yesterday?
At the
civilians,
shopping mall.
yeah. Yep. That's why I think this is happening, because we're all starting to kind of forget and be like, okay, send more help, they will figure. And that's why I think people get like bombed like that, civilians, because the world forgets. And they are like, we're still here. And that's my opinion on stuff, why they do that. To bring more attention through people, like through civilians who are not innocent. And I think I'm afraid that people are going to forget, like, that the war in Ukraine is going on, that they will just accept it as a fact. But I don't believe it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be opposite.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because if Putin is allowed to get away with this, I think there are a lot of other people in the world who will figure
that if he can, why can't I? Like, let's try that.
Yes. There's a lot of people who want to see what happens with this, and I hope that we don't lose our resolve. But Mark, you were going to ask something.
Well, now my question is going to seem really trite after that.
You already asked the paper question, so it's going
to...
That was a joke.
Ketchup or mustard?
I would imagine you're 22, very pretty. I imagine American guys are coming after you.
Is it 1980 in here?
What do you mean?
Is
What?
it 1980 in here? No, go ahead.
What's wrong with asking that question? I'm just wondering about the difference between American men and European men. Or do you not want to answer that?
Oh, I don't think I don't think I have talked to enough, like...
Do you get a chance to be a 22-year-old?
No. I mean, I don't. It's just that the situation I'm in, like, I don't have time for that. I just don't have the right mindset. Like, in my mind, I think you have... Like, I communicate, like, with someone like you. Like, of course I see people, like man, okay, they're on the street.
But I saw the picture of you, I think, in Columbus, Ohio, with friends. Was that an old picture? I mean, there's got to be times you...
No.
No? Never?
Right now? I mean, right now?
No, just... what do you do for fun?
I spend time with family. I look for job opportunities. I help around the house. I talk to my family. I can't just let go.
Mark, you got to understand
I don't want to, like... for me, like, if I will start talking to someone, it's more about, like, settling, you know? And not like I don't have to settle, actually, but I don't have just time to just have fun, like, be like, oh, yeah, let's go on this date and that date. And I can just talk, like, if the person is interested in something and we have, like, the same interest, of course I will share, I will support, I will be there. But I have friends, like, American friends, but they're girls. But
yeah, they don't take you out?
I mean...
What do you want for Harvard? Go out and do an 8-ball?
Well, she mentioned the baseball. Absolutely not. No, she mentioned baseball. So have you had a chance to go to any games or anything like that?
I mean, that's why I have my American family, and
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they take us to the game, but they're family. Like,
I told you it was going to be a very trite question.
I was wondering if anybody else caught that. I love that.
I totally caught it.
Why don't you just say, why don't you take an LSD? Is that what you're trying to ask?
What do you mean?
No. He's just wondering whether there's opportunities here to have what most people would consider to be...
Yeah, I think your question is just good.
Not all 22-year-olds are like...
I'm a 22-year-old. Right now, I don't get to be a 22-year-old like we would expect
which
a
is
normal
another tragedy.
22-year-old to be. But, like, man, if we ask about the man difference, there's definitely a man difference, because I think in Ukraine... we are on the same level, kind of like man and woman, and we are partners. And here, I just think I see a big difference between, like, how men go around women, and that women don't get treated that gently. I don't know, just like. But we'll see. I don't have that much of experience, and I think it also depends on where. Like, I don't get that much. Like, I think people who get in touch more with like international people or with some different cultures, they're more different. So it just I don't have enough experience yet to answer that question.
No, you do,
Mark. You got to understand that.
Totally great answer.
Yeah.
Mark, being 22 in Europe is completely different than being 22 in America. Like people's lives start like their actual careers and lives start a lot earlier when you live in Europe than when you live in America. Like,
but she's in America. That's why I wanted to know.
Yeah, like in Ukraine started getting a lot of young brands, and like I have been working for 5 years now, and that's when I was in college I started, and I really loved it, and it's different. Yeah, people want to get to job, actual practical part earlier, and I think I see a lot of it here in US that people they prefer to get the education and then like they do the stages. We just jump in. But it's also, I think, something about Ukraine, maybe.
Now, you, as I understand it, there was a wonderful article by Mary Lowe in the Daily Telegram, which is how we found out about your situation and fascinating and inspiring story. I understand you would like to be a journalist, or you're interested in journalism?
I'm so interested in journalism, yes.
So how are you finding that? I mean, are you able to contact publications and take freelance assignments, or, it's a tough business to break into. I wonder, what is it about that profession that attracts you, and what efforts you're making to try and, get one of these editors to give you some work?
Yeah, I know. For me, what's passionate about it, like that I can share I would only share something that I really experience, and only something that I'm there. Like, something that I really know. Like at this point, I would write about Ukrainian culture or like what's going on in Ukraine, and like I would get out there and like fight for it. Like I want people to know the real story and see different images and not the same image they see like every time, but different story. Like I want to bring the truth, but if we are talking, that's how it all started for me. Like it's all about, I started sharing my journey from Ukraine, and people like really were interested to know like the facts, like they were interested to see how it really is on the inside. And if I look from my perspective, I'm also always interested like to see, just go there, and I want to see what you really do. I don't want to like see the whole I want to see it raw, like a raw episode. Like I want to see it real. That's what passionate for me about journalism. Like I want it to be like real, like, and people to believe in it, and so passionate. Like you have to be passionate about what you do in order for people to really feel that. So I think I have that, so I'm ready to dedicate all that and time. I had one paper that they were going to give me like an internship, like, and to ask if I would be interested in writing for them, and I said yes, and they're like, anything you have in mind, I'm totally up for it. But it kind of shifted as for now, and I have been looking more for NGO field, like translator from Russian to English and Ukrainian English NGO field. I have applied to those kind of positions. So it's still like I don't have an answer yet. Like there is no company that will say like, yeah, okay, yeah, like we accept.
Sure. And for folks listening, NGO is a non-governmental organization. They're basically nonprofits that go out, like UNICEF or Doctors Without Borders, that try and help. I wonder, a lot of the jobs that a small paper like the Daily Telegram might have, or even a larger paper like the Free Press, it might be, can you go cover this bank robbery, or can you go sit in on this meeting and tell people what happened? Do you have an interest in doing journalism like that, or do you find that kind of boring, having been in the middle of, the most dramatic story of the year? I think going to cover the county fair would be pretty boring.
I mean, right now
after trying to get a train out of, out of Kyiv.
mean, right now I would prefer, if they're interested, since I have the needed knowledge, to cover the Ukrainian story, like Ukrainian part of the story. And I would, even if they needed someone, like, it depends on what the paper needs, like if they need, because I have friends, like I don't even need to go like back to Ukraine to be able to cover the real stuff. I have friends there who are still there. They like go through. I have family there, so I have some like I could make it really like interesting, like not interesting, like really real for people to see, even without the need like to go back there. So I would prefer to cover Ukraine, but if it's like of course I'm not experienced, like I have zero experience in journalism, so I could do everything, like I could cover the small story and also the big story. It just depends.
I simply thought just 22-year-olds wanted to be Instagram influencers.
Well, I wondered if you felt guilty because, as Patrick said, you weren't a journalist at 14, like everybody else starts so young in Europe.
No.
Yeah, over here, we don't start till we're 30.
What do you, if that?
And Mike and I have just started, and we just hit our 50s.
I just restarted. I keep starting and stopping. It's
with your interest in journalism.
Mark has not started.
No, God, I'm still a child. With your interest in journalism, you're obviously watching a lot of the coverage. What do you make of the American viewpoint of the war in Ukraine? No, be open and honest. I mean, is the media treating it like a movie? Are they getting do you think that's what's really going on there? I mean, how do you see it?
I mean, I think they're doing pretty fine, like with covering this story at all. But I think it's just that's what they do. They make it like the same thing. Like, it's just on the background. Like they come up again with the same story. Like the bombing, yes, it happened, like the mall and stuff. But maybe they could cover something like what the people feel like, who are not exactly there. There are a lot of I think Ukraine is so there are a lot of influencers who are still there right now in Ukraine, like people with huge community, so they could actually they could get in touch with them and talk about what they actually think it's going on, what they feel to get it more personal. Like we can see the mall was bombed. Like I saw the mall was bombed, and I already saw some of my people I know, they said that their mom under the ruins, so they really it's super, with social media you can really track down of what the people are going through and how it all started, just more to go deeper and not just I think that's what's missing, but I think it's fine in general.
Okay.
Just news.
How do you think and how do you hope that this will be resolved?
I hope the war is over as soon as possible, and the most people and we are able to save more people without dying, so that's the only thing I hope for. And I hope that my family, my mom, she would love to go back to her husband, of course.
Sure.
And I would love to hug my grandpa, and also basic and I hope that it ends as soon as possible, and everyone who is responsible for it is going to take how do you say it? Take the
responsibility,
blame? Responsibility.
Or be held but do you think that Ukraine is going to have to surrender territory? I mean, is there a way for this war to end where all of Ukraine is united again? It's
really complicated question. But if I talk about myself, I know right now, do you know Kherson region? It's around Odessa. It's where the Black Sea is, and that city is already occupied by Russians, and they have Russian currency going on there. Russian currency, that means they're building the economics. That's how it starts. They tell people to give out hryvnias, Ukrainian currency hryvnia, and they just give them Russian money. So I'm not sure about, but I don't see the story ending well if Ukraine has to surrender territories. You can't just during the middle of the day be oh, I want your territories, give them to me, and that's it. I don't see it ending in peace if Ukraine has to surrender territories.
Well, what would stop him from going? Putin. I mean, he already took, like we mentioned, Crimea.
So yeah, but it was not a huge, it was not a full scale war.
Was that kind of
It was just occupied, and that's it, and nobody kind of.
And it ended quick. I mean, that was how long did the Crimea? That was what, 2 months?
It was quick.
Yeah,
no,
very
they
quick.
Just one morning, the people woke up and the Russian troops were in.
Now,
I mean-
was that like a wake-up call for the government? Like, oh, he could do this again.
It was not a wake. I mean, everyone was. It was not a wake up call. Everyone was just like, you can't do that. But also, everyone had Donbass was an active war going on. So everyone tried. Like he played it well. Donbass, active war. Crimea, just take it, and then we'll figure. In Donbass, we have to save kind of first because people were actually like in the war there, bombed every day, and still bombed every day. Like I have my best friend's husband went to serve in the country to serve Ukraine as a volunteer, and he died there, like in Donbass region. So, I think I want Ukraine united with all of their territories, at least as it was in February, at the beginning of February 2022. Yes, at least that.
And when Ukraine was, I mean,
I just want to be real, like. I don't want I just want people to be safe in order for them to be safe.
It was a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
It was a sovereign nation doing well.
Yeah, and it just, it seems, I still think of Crimea, and I say, did people just not like Crimea, where it's like, okay, well, we never liked those guys anyway, so we're glad they're gone, or was it, we are not willing to die to hold on to this small territory? I mean, I can't believe that a country did that, and it happened, and I can't believe that another country invaded a country, and it's happening. It feels like this is all a nightmare.
It feels like a nightmare, and feels like...
And I can't imagine what it feels like for you, because that's what I think, I don't know anybody in Ukraine.
It feels like... No, everybody loved Crimea. Like every second, or every person spent their childhood summer in Crimea, and it's so beautiful. Everyone has a story from Crimea. Every second person has a house there, like had a house there, and people just didn't want to make it. Didn't want to make it worse.
Sure.
Like Ukraine just didn't want to start like a full-scale war. They didn't want to like hurt people who were still in Crimea and our people on our side. So Ukraine just kind of didn't want to like make it ugly.
Right. And it's a big bully who took it. So you're going to have a terrible fight on your hands. Valeriya, how can people get involved? How can they help if you're looking for a job opportunity? What's a good way for people to reach out to you? Is there a email address you can give people, or a website? What can people who are moved by what they've heard
social media
do?
Yeah, I have my email address. That's the best way. And if people like need any kind of information, or if they have something to offer me or my family, my mom, like she's now learning English, or anything, like if they just want to know more about the personal story of like side of the story, just email me in my, should I say my email right now?
If you don't mind people having it, we'll put it on our website, but if you want to share it with people, let them know. Yeah,
it's v.Isakova, which is v.isakova 9919 at gmail.com.
There's a lot of V. Isakovas out there. Is 9919 a special number?
It's my year of birth, but reverse.
My goodness.
No.
That's good.
Duh, there it is again. Good, I'm glad you got hit with it.
So,
So I'm gonna finish my sentence. I'm hoping for Ukraine to be one piece again, but I want it to be over soon, so people we can get it over the actual war soon, so people don't get hurt, because it's nobody's happy about that.
If you have the country back and there are no people in it, then it's not the country that you know and love.
We want to save the culture and people who are holding the culture, actually.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back? I mean, is that where you want to settle when you're older? I mean, is that...
when Ukraine is rebuilt, yes, I would want to go back, and that's where I would settle. If I love my country and the culture and people, and I would want my kids to know that, of course, yes. And Ukraine was great. I had a blast back then living. I was so happy. So of course I would want to settle in Ukraine, but I want to be useful to Ukraine. If I find a job that can actually benefit the rebuilding of Ukraine, and some economical, bringing business back to Ukraine, something that could benefit, yes, I would go back and help. Or if my friends or I start a project and it's really brilliant and we have someone to support us, yes, I would go back. But just to go back to work remote, and if there is no economics or the country is not rebuilt yet, it's a really tough question. Right now, no, but I'm always like, always for Ukraine, so.
Okay, well.
Really hard.
Yeah, I think I probably speak for a lot of people who are
Unreal.
listening to us that,
Don't you always?
Your spirit, well, not always. Your spirit is really strong. You've talked about some very difficult things, and I don't know how you're able to stay composed, but I think there are a lot of people who can tell about the strength of the Ukrainian people and why it's important that we continue to support you and your fellow country people who didn't want this, want it to be over. And if we lose our nerve now, we're just helping the bad guys. So thanks for coming and sharing your story and experience. And we hope for the best for you and certainly for your dad and grandfather and everybody back home.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that T-shirt
Yeah,
you wore, Marc.
dressed today.
Yes, it's Ukrainian. I was shocked. I don't have even one like with me.
What?
I mean, I have one at all, but not on me. So yeah, thank you. And yeah, if everyone, like anyone who will be listening, if they need if they want to know who to get the information through, like on Instagram or anywhere, if I the chats that I know that are true, I will be happy to share a list or whatever people need. Yeah, so I just want to know, Ukrainians are super strong, and I'm right now smiling and stuff. Some people ask me you're not so sad, for a Ukrainian person, but if you get sad, it just goes down. You can
seem
be sad.
amazingly well adjusted. I mean, listen to what you just said. You're offering to help other people, right? That
to get the
says
information.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you often find that people who know what it is to do without are the first to share, and people who have more money than they know what to do with try and build a rocket to go into space. So that's kind of shitty, but that's the way it is. Well, Valeriya, we will.
Elon has helped out Ukraine though while this is going on too.
Yep.
I was talking about Bezos.
Oh, Bezos.
Yes, or whatever other billionaire wants to go into space
Richard Branson.
for 54 seconds.
All of them, basically.
So yeah, and it's not really space. It's just they don't have any grid. Well, we will include your email on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. And folks, if you can help, please help. If you're curious, ask questions and just stay informed. So we're grateful for your time, and we hope next time we talk to you, we have some really, really good news.
I hope so.
Okay. Thank you. So now we're going to talk about people are mad. Boy, that really, about something that was in the newspaper, that really seems pretty meaningless, doesn't it? I mean,
it really.
Spartans are mad that somebody criticized Michigan State. It's like, get over it. It's not like we criticized the University of Michigan, which would be
stop it.
horrible.
You can be mad and upset about multiple things at once. It's
That's true.
just an amazing story. Have you ever been to Chernobyl?
I haven't.
Okay. That's
Yeah, just planning a vacation.
Would you ever go to Chernobyl?
And next time we're all in Kyiv, I have your information. I'm gonna give you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Believe me, I would love to go to Kyiv. I would love to go to Chernobyl. That's like the first.
No, I don't even want the Chernobyl vodka.
What?
We had Geek of the Week one time with the guys making the Chernobyl vodka. I'm like, too much vodka is bad for you.
You don't have any
even a
interest
little
in
bit of
Chernobyl?
radioactive vodka is not good for you.
I was like 10 years old when that happened, so that was my first knowledge of Ukraine. I've always been fascinated by Chernobyl.
Well, so when I was backpacking through Europe in 1991, I made a special point of going through Yugoslavia when there was a Yugoslavia because it was on the verge of dissolution, and I wanted to be there at a moment that seemed significant in our history, and there was sort of the, oh my God, what's going to happen there? As it turns out, Belgrade was very boring when I was there. but I understand that notion of wanting to go to a place where something, I was going to say magnificent, but I don't mean it in a great way, but where something meaningful or seismic
world-changing.
Yeah, of course. I think that's natural, but there's places where that happened that maybe wouldn't necessarily cause cancer throughout my body that I'm more interested in checking out. But maybe that's just me. And I don't think the Russians did a really good job of keeping the plant locked down.
That's why young 22-year-old Europeans come to Detroit.
What do you mean?
They're young folks that come from Detroit. Part of it's the electronica scene and so forth, but part of it's just to see this
grit. Oh, the death of the American dream.
Well, because this was also this city was so influential in so many ways.
Worldwide, yeah.
Yeah, right.
They drive Fords over there.
Not just the cars. In America, the idea of the middle class, the unions, the wages, the way cities are laid out from west of here. I mean, right?
And even the music. I mean, beyond electronic music, when I was driving a shuttle in Ireland, there was these Italian guys, and this was in '91 again. They want to talk about Isaiah Thomas and Motown. Like, you're Italian, right? I mean, they're like, I was like, well, I didn't want to talk about Verdi, so I felt kind of bad about it.
Yeah. I remember when I was in Spain, it was the same way because it would have been after 2004. Huge Piston fan. Ran into him.
Spain loves basketball.
At the Royal Palace, yeah. And so then I think Louis Bullock, the former Wolverine, was playing over for Real Madrid, and he just loved the Pistons and Michigan basketball, which is just so random.
That's funny.
And Bullock loved that there's no extradition.
What's not so funny? Do you guys have anything to say to me before I bolt?
Oh, you have to leave?
Why do you have to leave again? We already missed you because you had a very important interview to do.
Were you the one who wrote that the Bad Boys are the most respected team in NBA history? I totally agree.
Yeah, I hate to do that.
So we can move on to the next subject.
I hate to do that because it's such a homer thing to do, but there's just so much talk about legacy. Like part of the NBA, being an NBA fan, is talking about, okay, this player did this, so we're going to remember him this way. This player didn't do this, so screw them. It's just a constant talk of legacy. A lot of it's LeBron versus Curry, LeBron versus Jordan. And so I just thought, God, with all this legacy talk, okay, fine, we can talk legacy. Let's remember the team that that nobody remembers. I mean, they do remember, but people overlook because they want to go from the Lakers and Celtics right to the Bulls and skip over that.
I think they overlooked the 2004 team too.
Oh, going to work?
Yeah, that was a more unique team because that was really the only team that's ever won without a
superstar,
75 player, top.
Yeah,
right.
I think people would say that Sheed was, but I never liked Sheed.
But he wasn't. I mean, he had the talent, but the Bad Boys are certainly more iconic than that group for sure.
No, and
anyway,
one of the things that people forget about, one of the things I'm especially grateful with the Bad Boys is the epic battles to get through the Celtics, and you didn't think they'd ever get through, and then they did. Then they have the epic battles with the Lakers, like, will they ever get through? And then they did get through, and they were on top for a little while, and you're like, oh, man, and how wonderful that was. And then I think about,
here comes Michael Jordan.
No, not even that. I think about those great Trailblazers teams that couldn't get through the Pistons, where they had a great team and they never got there. And those great Utah Jazz teams that could never get through the Bulls, how the Bad Boys for years had to fight to get through, and they gained a little bit, and they finally got through, and they gained a little bit, and they got through, and then they were on top. But there are teams that were stocked with talents that just never did. They got nothing.
Isaiah beat Bird, Magic, and Jordan.
It
was kind of crazy.
No, you're right. Yeah. Do you see a similar parallel with the Red Wings and everything they had to fight through from, say, 87 to 97 before finally getting over that hump? I mean,
yeah, well, that's interesting too, because
arc of sports is
the Avalanche documentary is all the rage right now.
Did you watch it?
No.
Oh, it is. I thought it was fantastic.
No, my kids were watching it the other night and said we got distracted with the boys and the hero-gasm.
What?
Which that was.
Oh, what? You were not happy with the episode?
I just thought it was a little boring and the story's getting too narrow, and we don't need to go down this road in this podcast. But I think the boys is amazing sort of satire and commentary about our world right now. Obviously,
yeah, but sometimes
I'm only
you need
up to episode 3, so let's get some spoiler alerts here.
Yeah, no, I don't want. I'm not going to give anything away. I just where it went. In any case, that's been the theme, not the Avalanche Wings documentary.
Wait, what?
No, you ask if I watched it.
Yeah.
The boys have been,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's where we put a little bit more attention. And our youngest son and I we've been trying to catch up. And then he was a couple episodes, right? So we could watch these last few at the same time.
It was really interesting because I watched that documentary with my 8-year-old, right? And there's so much fighting on the ice.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you explain that to her?
It's really changed.
And I basically go, well, look, they're friends now.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's really, it's hard to explain that, but I think she at 8 years old kind of got into it because I'm sitting there going, I remember this. In my basement, I have a photo of Darren and me, and I'm holding the cup up. So she's always seen that, and I'm like trying to explain how that worked.
Dad, you really let yourself go since your playing days.
I know. Should I have not held the cup up? There was some
I'm not
argument
sure about that.
But I never played hockey, so I thought it was okay to hold the cup.
No, I've got a deadline for a story. Sorry.
All right, fine. Beat it.
And actually, they moved.
And you just talked to.
I
Can
have
we
a
say who
deadline,
you
too.
just talked to?
And they moved the car. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, tease that.
So Shawn had to step away at the beginning of our interview with Valeriya, who is really cool.
Oh, she was really amazing.
And the composure there, holy smokes!
amazing.
I kept waiting for there to be like
She's 22.
a little tremor in her voice because
You
she's
believe that?
talking about massive things, and she's got that stoic. I mean, geez. But Shawn had to dip out so he could go talk to Troy Weaver, the GM of the Pistons, and Troy, who follows the podcast, just posted on our website, "Thanks for all that advice, Shawn. I'll try and see what I can do." So on behalf of Pistons fans, thanks, brother.
He did push back at me at one point on a little something that was sort of fun. But
Can you tease that? Like with what?
well, he just
When you're running that 3-4 combo, you know you need to go to the top of it.
The Pistons just got a lot more athletic with the draft. Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, they won by all accounts. They had the best draft.
And Pistons fans rightly are excited, right?
Yeah.
They're
I
stoked.
am.
I don't remember this kind of
Jeremy's
buzz. When's the last
going.
time, Marc, there was this kind of buzz about this team? And not that they're going to go win huge next year, but just
well, I mean, it started with Cade.
last year for sure, but then it just exponentially kind of went up. So they're a lot more athletic, and I would ask him, how do you balance out the skill with the athleticism and the shooting? I said that the team that just won the title, a lot of folks don't think of as the most athletic team. He's like, well, and I said, plus they have 1-on-1 on that team, referring to Steph Curry. But he's like, and he started listing the players on the team who are pretty athletic. And I said, I understand that, but a few years ago they were more athletic. Anyway, that's way more than you need to know. But it was fun to kind of go back and forth with him on.
But you straightened them out.
No, he straightened me out.
Oh shit! Well, then we're screwed.
What's that?
I was just going to say, do they need some, like, this is a discussion I had with someone, how good can this team be because they're so young? Do they need veteran leadership? Is that
They don't need a
overrated?
big, expensive free agent, right?
Who's the leader, though? They need a leader on the team.
Oh,
It's
no,
gotta
they
be
don't.
Cade, right?
Cade Cunningham's
Yeah,
the leader.
period.
He's 20 going on 40. They're fine with that. But absolutely needed some veterans. Maybe veteran minimums, mid-level exception, those kind of guys. Just show the young guys how to be pros. I mean, even Cade needs a little bit of that.
But speaking of
There you go.
Speaking of the bad boys, didn't Isaiah pretty much take that team over as soon as he got here?
It's a great point. Yeah.
I mean,
his personality, he was a force of nature, right?
I mean, who would have been the leader of the Pistons?
I don't know if it was Kelly Tripucka or Kent Benson or who. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that were
Just
on the
name all
team
the white guys. Jeez.
when he arrived.
Yeah, I mean,
Was Earl Cureton still on that
I
team?
think Earl was then.
yeah, maybe John Long, but I mean, there was nobody who had that sort of stature.
No,
to
it was
come on.
Isaiah's team from the start, right?
Yeah, so you can have a young guy who comes in. He left Indiana early.
Cunningham,
so-
I was out of summer ball last year in Vegas in his first game of the Pistons, and he's huddling them up right away. I mean, it was not all the veterans were there, but even in the season last year, it's Cunningham's team.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty.
So young guys can do it, and then they can find some of those. They can find Buddha, they can find Vinny, they can find some of these guys, like you say, who are more role players, and can fill in some of those spots.
Yeah, bring a little veteran leadership. But in any case, you have to do that, and then we had to move the podcast to today. So
Like Carlos and Shawn?
the other podcast.
Wow,
That,
your own Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
Well, say hi to Vladimir for me.
So no, we're gonna have.
Actually,
Lindsay,
I'm going to be playing
we're gonna
softball
have,
with. I'm going to be playing softball with Carlos.
We're
on
going to have
Wednesday.
Lindsay
He's a
Green
good guy.
on. We're going to have Lindsay Green on, our food writer, free press restaurant critic, who's written some really provocative pieces the last couple of months. About the Detroit dining scene and what. Right. So
all the restaurants burning down.
well, not just what's that.
Well, just about how
she's
these restaurants are all for white folks.
Yeah, she's black, and she just has written about what it's
really?
like to go into these new restaurants in Detroit and not see, black folks in a city that's 75% black, right? So it's been really provocative, interesting stuff she's been writing about.
I would merely suggest that black folks have too much sense to spend that much money on food. I mean, some of these restaurants, you go in there, that shit's expensive, man.
Well, that's part of the
You're so cheap.
part of the issue. But
No, before I came here, I met with the Source, and we met at a little downtown coffee shop. And I went in there. I'd never heard of it before. I went there, and I walked in, and I thought, "Oh my God, I'm in Manhattan or London."
Biden's America.
And
It's inflation.
I was free. No, not the prices. I mean, the look of the place, the feel of the place. I could not believe that I was in Detroit, and there was a diverse mix of people going through there. But I mean, everything was expensive, but it had this feel. I think they sold as many branded gear as they did things on the menu. Like you could buy a bandana and a hat and something for your dog.
There's a lot of that.
And a tote bag, and you could also get a coffee while you're there.
There's a lot of that. I felt that way when I went into
weird.
Voyager the first time, 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, whenever that was, when they opened. Seafood place somewhere out here. Ferndale, Royal Oaks.
Oh, along 8 Mile.
Yeah, and I walked in. I'm like, wow, you felt like you were in,
It's got
in New York or San
an
Francisco.
oyster bar. Yeah,
Yeah, it just
in
felt
the middle of 8 Mile.
Yeah, it felt. Yeah. In any case, I don't want to take over.
Yeah,
Is your podcast? And thank you for letting me sit in for a minute. It's been a pleasure.
Well, we debated it because this poor woman's already been through enough.
Valeriya.
Oh, she really.
We thought if she can, if she can get a train out of Kiev, sitting across from Shawn Windsor's going to be a walk in the park.
She really was something incredible, right? Absolutely. And by the way, I'm sure you.
How do you like that? People left their baggage behind, but they kept their animals. And I'm serious. I mean, I hope it didn't sound like a smartass thing, but
but that makes sense.
You don't take a month worth of underwear with you, and the things that you don't think to pack that you run out of. I mean,
I was thinking about the picture she painted. I remember reading about this too. She gets dropped off. She's 30 kilometers or whatever that is, 20 plus miles from the border of Poland, and there's
cold as hell.
It's cold as hell. It's in the middle of the afternoon, and it's going to be dark soon. And I mean, just that picture she was painting with an 11-year-old brother,
just madness.
Yeah, it is. In any case, thanks for having her. And what a story.
Intern Patrick tracked her down, and it was suggested that we get in touch with her by
a listener,
Free Press Legend Dan Shine.
Oh, that was nice. See, it takes a village, doesn't it? Is that what you're saying? Even for this podcast.
No, I think he's saying.
No,
I'm saying thanks, Dan Shine.
All right, have fun.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
So this Geek of the Week was going to come out of our discussion about all these trolls that are popping up, coming after me, call me a Walmart Wolverine and all that other stuff because I criticized Michigan State. Although I think even the headline said my beloved alma mater. I mean, listen, I'm a huge Spartan fan. In fact,
you are?
A week or so before I wrote this column, I went to the National Polish American Sports Hall of Fame to see Marc D'Antonio get enshrined. And
then why are you attacking your beloved Michigan State University?
My first question was D'Antonio doesn't sound like a Polish name, but just to answer the obvious question, his mother's Polish, so there you go. But yeah, I'm a huge Spartan. But here's our Geek of the Week. People who say my country right or wrong. People who say if I cheer for this team, they're infallible. People who just the bitch switch goes on the minute you say anything that counters their sense of the universe, when really what it is you've just tapped into their insecurities. And I'll tell you what, I do think Michigan State is the best university in Michigan, but it doesn't mean that it's perfect. And for those of us who have hung on through all the mistakes that have been made, have been mocked for all the mistakes that have been made, and then seen the same mistakes made by the people who are mocking us, if you can't take a little criticism, if you can't say that this is a great place, but it can be better, if you can't acknowledge mistakes that were made so that we can do it differently and hopefully in a way that brings us all the glory that we deserve, and maybe even so much that you think you deserve.
Every institution has major problems.
Exactly. Why? You know, Donald Trump said, make America great, and he thought America was already great. He didn't say, shut the hell up, we got this. In fact, this man's entire career was based on a suggested criticism that maybe we're not as great as we could or should be. So if Donald Trump can acknowledge that America has some room to grow, I think those of us who cheer for our sports teams or have some loyalty to our alma maters can acknowledge that maybe they're not perfect.
Exactly.
Whatever he just said, I didn't hear it. I was up in my favorite part of Drew's house, obviously. I agree with it.
It's a great camera shot.
Oh, okay. Wow.
You know?
Was it number one or number two?
And by the way, I heard
Just
your
a
reference when
tinkle?
I was leaving. No, it's just a tinkle.
Okay.
Wash
the hands,
That was a great
20
column
seconds?
you wrote. That was a great column you wrote the other day.
Now, can you please explain why you are mad at your beloved Michigan State University?
Because I'm a Walmart Wolverine. No, sorry. That's what I read.
Oh, you're not mad. You're frustrated.
No.
Anyway, great job. Talk to you guys soon.
Wow, I'm
king
glad
of-
we didn't miss out on that.
The king of long goodbyes.
That's right. He's shaking and baking.
Bye, Sean.
And the leave will be taken. But
why are you mad?
So the Detroit Free Press is suing Michigan State because Michigan State refused to provide the contracts between the benefactors of Mel Tucker's very large salary.
Now, why is that important that they provide that?
Well, one reason why is because typically, coaches' contracts are a public record and they're disclosed. Well, now we have some people from outside the university who are making massive sums available to compensate a coach. And I think, and I don't know what the idea is with this, the story that's being pursued. If somebody thinks there might be something funny there, if people just want to know what the details are, if we're just curious, if we're trying to investigate a lead. I really don't know because I didn't find out about this until I read the story. It said we're suing Michigan State. But I will tell you that it is important to know what's in that contract, because what if it says something like, in return for $10 million a year for Coach Tucker, so-and-so's entire family gets to ride on the team plane.
Yeah.
So-and-so,
which would not be unusual.
Yeah, so-and-so will be delivered 2 bound and gagged cheerleaders after every home game. I don't know what the hell would be in there, and maybe there's nothing in there. But one of the points I made in the column was when you got nothing to hide, don't act like you do.
Yeah.
But my issue and why I thought this was worth writing about as a watchdog columnist is because Michigan State clearly had a lot of problems with what happened with Larry Nassar, and then after that with William Strample, the dean of the College of Osteopathic Medicine, both for his role in the Nassar thing and the way he conducted himself. And at one point, John Engler took over Michigan State University, and to his credit, he went around and met with as many people, as many constituency groups as he could to hear what their concerns were and to talk about his plan to try and restore some of the glory to the green. And we had a very open and candid conversation where he basically told us, and you can find it in my column, and we'll include a link on our website, mlsoulofdetroit.com, where he said, I can't wait. We're close to having a settlement with the victims, with the survivors. And once we do that, I know why nobody's talking about all the good things happening on campus, because this is such a massive issue. It's been such an epic fail that we have to do right by these women. And then we can get on to talking about what else we're doing and where we're going. And I said, with all due respect, one of the problems we have predates Nassar. It's that we have had a policy, whether it's written or unwritten, that we will make it very difficult for people to get public records from Michigan State University. I said, I've experienced this personally, and I think one of the problems that we have here is a lack of transparency. And if you want to put this behind us, it's not just writing a mega check. It's about doing what you said you want to do, which is changing the culture. And one way that you convince the world that you really have learned and that you are going to try and be better is to do it, is to walk it, to live it, and to be the most open and transparent university in the country. Be an example. And I said, and we can start with our presidential search, and we can let people know what we're looking for, how we're going through it. And Engler and his vice president, who he brought in, Kathy Wilbur, who I believe is still at the university. Engler left a year later because he said some things that he regretted, but they just kind of smiled and they nodded and they said, well, we could never do that. And I said, why not? I said, because if we tell people who we're thinking about hiring as president, no one will apply. And I said, that just doesn't make sense to me because, first of all, And their whole thing was that's not how executive searches are done. People won't come forward because their old employer will be mad. Well, so let's walk through this for a second. If you have somebody who you want to be your president, they should be so good at the job they're doing that the minute their current employers find out they want to go work for you, they're going to do everything they can to try and keep them. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, then you probably don't want them. So that's an important thing. The other thing is when these names become public, it tends to be the public and the media that find out all the warts that you need to know before you lock them in. And so that's another way to protect yourself and make sure you're getting the best person. That message was rejected and fair enough. And Michigan State has tried to be better about releasing public records. And I shared an experience I had 20 years ago. And I also noted that a few years ago, I requested some other records and I did get them. But the fact that they're trying to keep these contracts secret, this is the same kind of shit they did with ESPN that caused ESPN to try and miscast Michigan State as this cauldron of villainy. And some of it's just because you fought them on things that you should have released. And so my whole point was, if we're going to get past this, if we're going to be as great as I believe Michigan State is and can be, we got to stop playing games with this shit. We can't say we want things to be different and then do the same things over again. And I also noted that Michigan's bad about this, the University of Michigan with presidential searches, and that every university in this state wants to make you fight to get the records that you're entitled to.
I think we want all institutions that are public to be just more transparent, period. So that's why I'm surprised when you go to the Red Cedar message board and there's a post that just says FML Elric. I just did not understand the anger on this, because you're trying to say, hey, this is a good thing we want our university to do. And people are just mad because I guess they see it as an attack. Like the very first comment is 5,000 words on how terrible Michigan State is. But that's not how I read it.
Yeah, I think
it's one problem. It's one problem that they're having.
My beloved alma mater, the greatest, I think I put plenty of sobriquets in there to reinforce my belief that Michigan State is a great place. But, I guess I'll just tell you that kind of shit, which I haven't read, I guess I probably should at some point.
You want to hear more?
Sure. Like, what's the best couple?
Of course, right out of the gate, there has to be a Michigan comparison because, that's how state rolls. This crap gets old.
Well, we like to see how far ahead we are of the second place finishers. But.
Okay. Yeah, this crap gets old. Freep completely glosses over Michigan and Anderson and then sues Michigan State and puts out these opinion pieces. Complete BS. As a Michigan fan who follows the news of the university, I don't think the Free Press has glossed over it. I do think the news, because they really put the pressure on, started that, but you pointed out that Michigan has issues with Freedom of Information Act too.
Well, so people who emailed me directly at the Free Press said, where were you on the Fab Five? Where were you on blah? And I said, it was the Free Press who broke all the Ed Martin stuff. It was the Free Press who investigated Rich Rod's management style that led to U of M being put on probation. And it was the Free Press that explored and investigated some of the investment policies of the university.
That's a big one. Yeah, those are all good, important stories.
Big donors to the university were then getting to manage some of the university's endowment investments. I mean, the Free Press has been pretty vigilant on Michigan and Michigan State. You could even argue they've been harder on Michigan. Have we been as vigilant on both universities, on all universities, as we should be? Absolutely not, just because we don't have the resources. And Dr. Anderson, the Detroit News has done some great work. Kim Kozlowski at the Detroit News has done some great work on Nassar and on Anderson. I think David Jesse and some of our sports people have as well. But that's the point. This whole notion of don't scrutinize us, scrutinize them. It's how about scrutinize everybody? And we have sued Michigan before, and I'm sure, unfortunately, we will have to again. Here's the other reason folks should really be concerned about this. I think the last time we sued the University of Michigan, we were awarded $36,000 in legal costs. And you know where that money came out of? All of our pockets as taxpayers. of the state of Michigan because we subsidize these universities.
Well, to that point, respond to this one. This guy writes, there's a time when newspapers were important in forming public opinion, but radio, television, and now the internet has supplanted them. The Free Press does not have unlimited funds. Neither does the Detroit Media Partnership that runs the Freep and the Det News or their parent company, Gannett. If this gets personal to Michigan State donors like Ishbia, they can bleed the Freep with millions in legal fees.
Whatever, brother. I mean, here's the thing. Matt
Really?
Ishbia and Steven St. Andre, I think is the name, who made basically $100 million available to Michigan State to pay Coach Tucker. As I said in the column, thank you. That's great. We really appreciate that. And I'm sure the university is bending over backwards to accommodate them and make them feel special for what they did, which was very generous. But we shouldn't bend over forward for them. And I think that's really what we want to see, what's in that contract. What do they get for this?
And I wish I could show this picture, but I don't have it set up so I can. But my favorite post on it is somebody wrote, "This guy?" with a question mark, and there's a picture of a column you must have written when you were at the State News, right?
And at my own paper, the URI. Is it the mullet picture with the bow tie? Yeah, it's a pretty handsome guy. But let me...
yeah, that guy.
Hey, man, it was the 80s, okay? What can I tell you?
I just think that's the best way to end the argument. Yeah, it's that guy.
Well, that is...
Because that could be negative or positive.
That is kind of a drop the mic thing, but some I kind of fired, not at this person because I haven't read any of these, but somebody else said something about why do you hate the Spartans so much? And I sent him a picture I took 2 weeks ago with me and Marc D'Antonio holding up a framed copy of the Rose Bowl victory thing. So, and some other guy said, well, if you really want a Pulitzer, here's somebody on Twitter said, you really need to do this. And of course, it's somebody who doesn't use their real name. And I just said, no, one's enough. I think we're good. But here's the thing. I'm secure in who I am. I think we've made the right argument. I think it's an argument for truth. It's an argument that's in the best interest of everybody. But you can say whatever you want about me because it ain't going to bother me. And I think that's what really worries me about these Spartan fans and these Wolverine fans who lose their mind when anybody criticizes them. You're not really worried about the institution that you claim to love and be loyal to. You got a problem yourself. You're insecure. Well, I think Michigan State's great. You can say whatever the hell you want about Michigan State. It's never going to change my opinion. And if you get freaked out because some fruity-looking dude who wrote a column in the Detroit Free Press said something critical, I think you're more worried about you than you are me or Michigan State. I think me and Michigan State, we're cool.
So is that bow tie and mullet.
Okay, maybe that wasn't so cool. But back in the day...
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Yeah, that may have been the longest Geek of the Week ever, but if you look at the rundown under Geek of the Week, it just says one word, Homers.
Yeah.
So there must be some sort of inverse ratio. We'll have to be careful with that. Shawn is gone, which means we may actually be able to get through a great piece of new wave music without interruptions, underappreciation, and disrespect. So let us seize this moment and enjoy it for every ounce by checking in with Fiction Factory and Ghost of Love.
I can't believe all the things you say to me. I just can't believe all the things you say. I'm standing straight, I see no malice in your eyes. I'm just standing straight, and in time I'll realize. Hate that ghost of love. Hate that ghost of love. Hate that ghost of love. You he's thinking of. Forward in step. There is no time to sit and wonder. Go forward in step. Breaking things I can't afford. You lose and you win as the years grow.
was easy, but you said it all the same. Though it's not in your mind, it's in your eyes. Thought my life was easy, but you said it all the same. Though it's not in your mind, it's in your eyes.
Yeah.
What?
Sean loved it. He sent me a text.
That David Byrne never sounds so good. Scratch. I'm just doing some of that scratch acid. So, Fiction Factory.
Another band I've never heard of. Did this come from DJ Dan?
No. This is I dug this one up myself. I had to give Dan a week off. I kind of felt like I was going to the well too often. He's kind of my he's my little insurance policy. But you probably have not heard this song by Fiction Factory. They were around briefly. They are a Scottish new wave band. And
Scottish.
One of their members was briefly in Simple Minds, probably the best known Scottish new wave band. But you probably have heard, or you may have heard, one of their songs, "Feels Like Heaven," which was their biggest hit. And this is why you've heard, 'cause feels like heaven.
Oh.
Yeah. So it sounds exactly like that, in fact, which is why they weren't around for very long. But Ghost of Love, when I listen to this, I kind of have like a orchestral maneuvers in the dark sound. It doesn't have that sort of kind of poppy.
Talking over my head now.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't.
So yeah, it's they fit into that sort of danceable little slap bass in there, which is really nice. And when Feels Like Love came out, Feels Like Heaven, their biggest hit, came out, one of the critics said, it's the song Spandau Ballet would have died to have written.
Oh, God.
I'm like, yes, Spandau Ballet envy. That's really where you want to go with things. But
it's not a bad song, though.
No, it's a nice poppy little, new wave bubblegum, kind of lighten up the mood. But and now I'm thinking I should have played Valerie for Valeriya, but
too late.
But it's a little more modern, and I think Marc Ronson doesn't need our help. So yeah, that's Fiction Factory. Check out their catalog. It's very brief, but they do have some pretty good classic new wave cuts. And that's what we're looking for here in Room 7609. We love to take bands you've never heard of and give them a moment in the sun. Or if it's a band that you love and there's a song that you think has been terribly underappreciated, please reach out to us with an email to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Or if you want to, throw a comment on our Facebook page, which is ML no periods Elric, or respond to a tweet. It's at Elric. We appreciate it if you follow us on social media, if you will share our posts, and if you'll comment on the post, because the algorithms love that and it helps spread a little soul a little further in the universe, and we can't get enough soul. Mm-hmm. One other small note about a guy in a Fiction Factory. Dude had one of the coolest names in all of music. His name was Chic Melody. Oh no, Chic Medley.
Is that the name by birth?
Charles Medley.
Charles.
But he changed it to Chic, unless it's Chick Medley, which would be even better.
Did wonders for him.
Yeah, he's
everybody knows who he is.
Oh yeah, no, everybody at the Tesco where he bags your groceries is like, "Hey, Sheik."
I have a feeling he went back to his original name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really?
No. Well, Chuck Medley? I don't know. He's whatever he did, we wish him well in all endeavors. This is the part where we try and make up some time on the program because nobody donated to us, so that's kind of a drag. But we've been told that if we explicitly make an appeal for funds, that they will come. And so we would appreciate it if you would donate. It's so easy to donate to this show. Even Shawn knows how, but he left, so Marc is going to have to carry the ball for us.
A little donate button on mlsolodetroit.com, and it takes you right to your PayPal, if you'd be so kind.
That's great. And one of these days we'll have Venmo there. I'm sorry, Barney. We're getting there. We got to get Patrick on. He's doing a great job.
It's never going to happen.
And Patrick booked our guest today, so we really are getting a lot of mileage out of our intern. So that's been great. We got a lot of feedback. Mostly it's about these Spartan trolls laughing out loud at the conspiracy theories on the Red Cedar message board. But here's the part that I think is kind of troubling is Gabby asks, why do you still donate to MSU? We stopped. We loved our time there, but the place, both campus and the town of East Lansing overall, is a backwater, corrupt joke. Huh. Good old boys and girls, cronies, looting the university and the students, so on and so forth. You know, I have to tell you one of the reasons why I continued to serve on the alumni board that I served on and why I continue to donate, which I also mentioned in the column, and I also mentioned that my daughters are both Spartans. And as you know, David Hall helped me buy a couple houses in East Lansing. He didn't give me the money. That would have been nice, but he did do the mortgage deals with us. Is because I think when you care about something and it has a hard time, you stand and fight.
Sure.
You try and change it from within if you can. And if you try and change it from within and you get ignored, maybe you write a column about it in the Detroit Free Press. But when we abandon the things that matter to us because they're imperfect, again, I think that says a little bit more about our resolve. But I do understand people being fed up and disgusted what happened and what has been happening at our universities, including The Ohio State University. Notice the at USC is horrible.
Yeah. But
if we just walk away, then the people who let that happen will let it happen again. And we just cannot have that. Sophia says, JC, meaning referring to my colleague JC Rendles, presumably tomorrow at 1 about the A1 story about the Renaissance Center was very sharp. JC and Jamie LaRue wrote about how the Renaissance Center is half empty and its future is very much in doubt. This is a subject that I know our listeners are always writing to us about and asking about. The Free Press tackled that. We'll have a link on our website as well. And it's very interesting to see where this thing might go. GM, which bought it and put a lot of money into it, says they're still committed, but they don't sound like you want to buy a restaurant in the basement, figuring that there's going to be a lot more people coming down there to chow, because when I read it, I said, okay. And then Sophia also asked some questions.
I drove by there yesterday. It was like a ghost town at 10 a.m.
The food court used to be jammed. They had 2 food courts.
Well, that's because people got lost.
Yeah, well, and
directed to the food court.
And they had to tuck stuff in because it really, I mean, the Winter Garden, that mall they tried to build never really took off, but everything else was really doing pretty well. And it was where Kwame Kilpatrick had his first inaugural. But yeah, so the question that Sophia has is, if they can't fill a Renaissance Center, what's going to happen with Dan Gilbert's Hudson site?
They're supposed to have another vote today.
Yeah.
And it got delayed again.
Did it get delayed again?
Got delayed again, this time by Bedrock asked to delay it.
Oh, so they must not have got the votes. They must have counted heads and not felt comfortable.
And doesn't that seem like that's what it is? Even though they claim the bank won't give them a loan if they don't have this $60 million abatement.
Yeah.
What?
And maybe that's true. Maybe they don't like the financing. But and this is what I don't understand.
It's the city's fault.
Well, and the other thing is JC, great reporter. I think he'll probably dig into this. But, you know, if you don't line up the numbers for a loan that you have, I think somebody could personally guarantee it. You can find another guarantor And I'm not suggesting that Dan Gilbert should invest any more money in downtown, but if their whole future is hinging on getting this $60 million abatement, they don't get it. What the hell, man?
It just seems like a threat when you say something like that. Like, well, if we don't get this, then this is what it's going to look like.
Well, it sure seems like all of this should have been squared away before.
No shit. It should have been done by now, period.
Yeah, and well, that's the other thing they're saying. Our costs have gone up because of inflation. It's like, yeah, but you also took longer than you planned.
Exactly.
And here's one of the things that I think JC may have written about or is looking into is the costs keep going up, but the project keeps shrinking. That doesn't seem to make sense. But I don't understand all these things. The only thing that I was involved in was showing that the people who support this plan and who are expected to approve it on city council have received princely sums in campaign donations from Dan Gilbert and Dan Gilbert executives and Dan Gilbert affiliated political action committees, up to and including the mayor of Detroit. Now, is this a good project? Is it something I'd vote for if I was on city council? I don't know. I'd have to take a look at it. But one thing I'm very concerned about is almost a month ago, city council was ready to vote on it. And now they keep telling us we need more information.
Yeah.
Are they really doing their due diligence? Because
it's because people started yelling at them about it.
Well, and they didn't anticipate that people were going to be mad about tax breaks for billionaires. I mean, come on.
They thought it would just slide on by.
That's all we've been hearing in Detroit for the last decade. But I'll tell you this, when my colleague James Hill and I were covering the city of Detroit, the mayor and city council in City Hall, two things you heard all the time at the council table, so much so that it almost became a joke, was the devil's in the details and we need to do our due diligence. And when you have a city council that's saying we need another week to figure out what's going on, that tells me if the devil's in the details, you ain't met the devil or the details, and that you have not done your due diligence. And one of the reasons why we write stories and why we keep an eye on projects like this is because we expect our public officials to do their damn job. First of all, because they said they would.
Imagine that.
Second of all, because it's the right thing to do. And third of all, because all the money that they get paid and all the money that they squander is our money. Yep. And when I say our money, I mean your money and my money and Marc's money. Now, Shawn, he wants to pay as much in taxes as he possibly can, so I'm glad he's not here for this.
Say that once.
Yeah, and then he said, "Are you sure this mileage is deductible?" So I don't know if that's true or not. But the thing is,
God bless him.
Somebody's got to watch these cats, and if it ain't for us in the media, it ain't gonna be nobody. So please subscribe to the News and Free Press. Finally, Kyle checks in and says, "Dude, I appreciate what you do. I just want to let you know I respect you as a person." Which I don't know what prompted that, but after all,
get to know you better.
After all those green meanies,
made you feel good.
I really appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
He made his day.
So we already got the Carlos and Shawn update. I want to invite you, if you're hearing this show before Thursday, to join me at Royalty House in Warren on Thursday night. There's going to be a debate between the top 5, well, I guess it's the only 5 Republican gubernatorial candidates who are on the ballot.
Oh.
I will be one of the panelists. Charlie Langton will be the moderator. We are going to have a lively 1-hour-long debate and discussion about the issues that matter to the people of Michigan, particularly Republican primary voters. It's a free event. I'll try and put a link to the invite on our website. Again, ML Soul of Detroit.
Will that be televised? Not televised. Will it be streamed anywhere?
It will be, I'm told, live streamed on Fox 2 Fox2Detroit.com. It will be simulcast on WWJ Newsradio 950, and I'm hoping that we will also be able to stream it at freep.com, but certainly, we'll have something to say about it. So please check out freep.com for the latest on how that debate goes. And please, if you can, come join me. I met lots of people at the Polish American Hall of Fame, fans of the podcast, had some great feedback for us. One guy said, I really like the show. I don't know about that music thing. I'm kind of, but they even like Shawn. So we appreciate that. And we appreciate you. Red Shovel Network, great way to spend some time productively. If we're not the show that you listen to, because of course you've already listened to it already or watched the live broadcast or the replay on YouTube channel ML Elric, you can check out Charlie LaDuff's No BS News Hour. And of course, the Mac Daddy of them all, the Drew and Mike podcast. And belated happy 60th by like 2 years birthday to Matt Riley, who threw a hell of a party on Saturday at the old CompuWare headquarters, where you could go outside and look down on the Hudson's Project as it rises from the ground. So unless Marc has anything else, we should probably...
That's all I got, man. Just trying to live like a 22-year-old.
Well, a 22-year-old who doesn't have to worry about
anything.
What's going on back home. So...
I worry plenty about what's going on in my home.
That's what I mean. That's
okay.
If you're a 22-year-old, you wouldn't. And
sure.
If you were a 22-year-old from Ukraine, you might. But until next week, we're just going to let Cyrus take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Sean Windsor.
What a pleasant surprise. This morning's full of surprises.
Am I Lowrick?
You've been tricked. It'll be more than a few hundred. This is a surprise. Silence! This isn't an army. We heard Sparta was on the warpath. And we were eager to join forces.
If it is podcasting
you seek, you're welcome to join us. But you bring only this handful of
listeners?
You see, I was wrong to expect Sparta's commitment to at least match our own.
Doesn't it?
You, there.
What is your profession?
I'm a potter, sir. And you, Arcadian.
What is your profession?
Sculptor, sir.
You?
Blacksmith.
Spartans! What is your profession? You see, old friend, I brought more
podcasters
than you did.